Hello, welcome back. This is Apple Miyabriki, and today I'll be discussing Chapter 3, the research methodology, or sometimes called the research method. Chapter 3 is about research methodology, and in writing this particular chapter, the researcher has to consider many important items under this particular chapter. Of course, among these is the research method. Under a research method, you need to answer and write your answer to this particular question. What is the appropriate research method being used in your study? So simply describe and define what is the research method. Another important consideration is you have to define and explain why this method is the most appropriate to your study. So, a matter of explanation and discussion why. These are some examples of such. So, you have your quantitative and qualitative designs. You have your descriptive, correlational, experimental, causal comparative, or ex post facto. You have also field observation, focus group, intensive interview, case studies, biographical, phenomenological, grounded theories, and others. The next item under this particular chapter is the respondents of the study. So, this is where the researcher discuss about this. Of course, who are the respondents? So, simply present who are they, why you choose them. Simply justify why. Now, as to sampling techniques, you need to identify or present the sampling technique being used and why you need to use it. And how do you select your respondents? You have to give details on the process and steps. For example, of all these sampling techniques is of course the random sampling. We have also purposive sampling, convenience sampling, quota sampling, and stratified multi-level sampling. Next is your instrumentation. Now, in this particular portion, the researcher will describe the data gathering instrument or tool and its parts, how it was designed and drafted, how it was critiqued and validated by experts and professors, and how you finalize it and subjected it to a dry run or the pilot testing. That is also a very important part of your instrument prior to the formal administration or plotting your survey questionnaire. Now, if it is a standard tool, this is also important. Researcher must acknowledge the source of your tool. Another item under Chapter 3 is data gathering procedure. So, here the researcher must give a detailed discussion of the steps or procedures such as formal floating of the tool, retrieval, and processing of data. Another as to statistical treatment of data, another important item under research methodology. The researcher will describe and define the statistic used in the study. Example, of all these statistics are parametric and non-parametric statistics like frequency, percentage distribution, Are you using Likert scale, a t-test, persons or, Spearman-Ra, ANOVA, or f-test? Or are you using non-parametric tests like Welltok sum, Mann-Whitney statistics? You are going to present, describe, and define, and even justify why you will use this kind of statistical treatment for your study. Next is arbitrary scale of values. Other universities format are not having this. However, other universities are including this in their Chapter 3. This is where the researcher presents any measure. Like for example, using the Likert scale, scale 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, and of course, corresponding values and verbal interpretation or objectival interpretation or description, like strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, or very high, high, low, very low. These are just some examples about arbitrary scale of values that you are going to present in this particular portion. So there again, I hope that writing Chapter 3, the research methodology, helps you somehow in your way towards writing Chapter 3. Thank you and God bless.